Hey, and we're live. Hey everyone, it's Debra from World Awake Movement, and I have with me today the lovely Kristy Lorson from EarthSavvy. Such a cool biz name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Inspired by your daughter, yes?
Yeah, my daughter, her name is Savannah, and we call her Savvy for short, so it just seemed like a no-brainer to call the business EarthSavvy. I mean, I'm inspired by her, so there you go.
Yeah, it's very clever, and we all need to be a whole lot more EarthSavvy. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, look, thanks so much for joining me today, Kristy. I know you're busy saving the planet, like we all should be, so we don't want to keep you too long, and we're going to try really hard, aren't we, to keep this to like a half an hour.
Yeah.
So I've got a few questions lined up for you, and as people jump on, if we've got some time towards the end, we can field some of their questions. But my first question for you, really, I think it's the most important one, and I have a feeling I might know the answer. But what's your why, your big why for going on this massive mission of going zero waste?
Well, I kind of think that we are creating a lot of unnecessary hardship for ourselves. I mean, we are the whole 8 million tons of plastic being dumped in the oceans every year, which is equivalent to a rubbish truck a minute. That's pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's craziness to me. I mean, we're polluting our home, we're poisoning our home, and subsequently we're poisoning ourselves as well. And I just don't see any reason why we can't live in harmony with our environment. It's totally doable. We're the most advanced species in the known universe, and I think we need to start to really be a bit more mindful about our impact on the planet.
Yeah, well, out of every living creature on this planet, we're the ones that abuse it the most, from what I can observe. Yeah,
we have the capacity for a huge amount of destruction, unfortunately, but we can also turn it around and create a lot of positive stuff.
So have you always felt this way? I mean, has this always been this?
Well, I think I've always kind of considered myself to be an environmentally conscious person. I'm not sure I even knew really what that meant quite a few years ago. I was initially inspired by a documentary that I saw about 8 years ago, I think it was. It's called Manufactured Landscapes, and I really recommend that people go and check that out. It follows a Canadian photographer as he travels around industrialized China, and he doesn't preach to you about whether it's good or bad what he's documenting, but he takes these amazing photos of these landscapes that have been altered by large-scale human activity, and it's pretty mind-boggling. And after that, I decided I never wanted to buy anything ever again because I realized what we were doing to the place. And then after becoming a parent, you become even more mindful about, not just yourself, but what's happening in the broader community and the whole world, and what kind of future might lie ahead for your kids. And so that really started to impact me a lot. And then I discovered Debra Johnson and her book, Zero Waste Home, and that completely transformed the way I looked at my own life and the impact that I could have on a daily basis. So it's sort of snowballed from there, I guess.
Right. So we need to check that out, actually. Is that one of the ones that you've mentioned in your on your blog posts?
Yeah, so on the EarthSavvy website, I've got a resources page, and you'll find a link to Debra Johnson, her website, and her book as well. And I highly recommend that people check that out. It's a pretty awesome resource.
I actually preloaded a whole bunch of these into BeLive, and they seem to have disappeared, which is interesting. But here's the one you're talking about. I'll just make a comment there. So that's great. So and I totally agree with you. For me, it's been since having Morgan that it's become even more of a concern to me, and to do something about it really soon. But plus, I think things have just come to a head. I think they've come to a head quite recently, really. And I keep hearing this statistic bandied around, and I wonder if you know how accurate it is. But that by 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the oceans than sea life, than fish.
Yeah, that's a pretty horrifying statistic. There seems to be a common agreement that that's the way we're heading at the moment if we don't make a drastic change in our disposable culture. Disposable plastic, it's half of the plastic manufactured every year is for disposable products. So I would believe that statistic, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying, isn't it? Cool, all right. So with, you've got Savannah, so it's just the three of you at home, is it?
Yes, just the three of us.
Okay. My family situation, so this is a bit of a question I've thought I need to ask you. My family situation is I have a bit of a blended family, so we have 3 stepkids, all teenagers and tweens, here every other week, and then on the off weeks it's just the 3 of us as well, with little Morgan nearly turning 4. And my question to you is, how possible is it for a family with more than the average, 2 kids, to really live a truly zero waste life?
Well, I think the where the work comes, I mean, obviously the more kids, the more people you have in a household, probably the more time for you are. So that's more of a challenge. But the most challenging thing is setting up the systems. It can be complicated to set it up because you've got to think about new places to source your food and your products, and thinking about completely new ways of doing things. But once you've got those new routines set up, it's actually very straightforward. I don't spend a lot of time on zero waste stuff. I'm interested in it, I'm passionate about it, so I probably spend more than the average person. But if you're just interested in reducing waste, you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours on it. Once you've got those systems set up, it's totally doable. There's a really great blog that people might want to check out. It's called, what's it called? Coralie Archer, and her, hold on a sec, I'll just Google it for you.
I'm just doing it.
She's got a family of 6.
Okay.
And what's her name? What's the name of her? Waste champion. Practically Green. That sounds familiar. Sorry, Coralie. I totally forgot what it's called. Yeah, Practically Green. So that's the name of the blog. She's got a family of 6, 4 young children, and they create like a jar of waste a month. And yeah, so it's totally doable. She is in New Zealand. She lives in West Auckland. Yep, it's not just Americans producing these jars full of waste. Everyone can do it. It doesn't matter how many kids you've got. If you've got older children, it totally helps if you can have them on board as to why you're doing it as well. I mean, that applies to younger children as well. But if you've got tweens and teenagers, and if they can understand why you're doing it, then they can totally be active in helping you to navigate that and to reduce waste as well.
Yeah. We have some mindset challenges, though, to deal with as well. I mean, our teenagers especially are very consumer-driven. They all want their brands, and they spend every waking hour at the mall shopping, and they'd buy it all if they could. So that's a whole other challenging side of it.
But, I can recommend one documentary to get your loved ones on board. It's called A Plastic Ocean, and that might open their eyes and make them start to think a bit differently.
I know the one. I'd actually like to try and arrange a screening of that nearby. Yeah. No, that sounds like a fabulous one to start with. Cool. So what did you start with first? What was the, especially, I mean, did you start with plastic, obviously? Did you address that? Or what were the products in your home that you found were coming into your home consistently? Where did you start?
The first thing I did is I went and had a look at our rubbish bin just to see what our biggest waste items were. And for our family, it was Tetra packs of vegetable stock and soy milk. So I decided that I was going to start making those products myself. And
because they can be recycled.
Well, you can recycle Tetra packs in Auckland, but the process for recycling them is pretty involved, and it's just not ideal. We're going to talk about a bit more recycling later on. But so my aim was to not focus on recycling so much, but to focus on where could I reduce. And so those are the 2 products I started with. And then I made a list. I went through every room in the house, and I made a list of all the consumable items that we purchase on a regular basis. I just made a little spreadsheet, and I just slowly started going through that list looking for zero waste alternatives. And I found that some things I could get packaged in glass or tin rather than plastic, and some of those products I realized that I could do without them altogether. So it's one of the benefits has been it's really simplified our lives, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure. So what were some of the ones that you lost altogether that you just stopped buying?
Just trying to think. Some of the fancy little sauces and things. I don't know if you open your fridge and you see how many hundreds of condiments and things that you have, and you're like, gosh, when was the last time I used this kind of thing? You know, it's not stuff that you use regularly, but just like little extra bonus things.
Yeah.
And obviously a big one for me is just replacing disposable products with reusable products. So we no longer use disposables in our house. It's all being replaced with things that we can use again and again and again. And that's reduced a massive amount of waste just by itself.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, nice one. So sort of similar question for you, but what were the worst plastic culprits in your family? What were the you mentioned the Tetra Paks, but what was some of the other plastic that was coming through?
Yeah, it's mostly food-related stuff. So we used to buy, big containers of yogurt in plastic containers. All food stuff really. And so once you eliminate that, it's a pretty massive reduction in your waste, and it's pretty easy to do as well.
So it goes without saying you're probably making your own yogurt now.
Well, we are a plant-based, dairy-free household, so we've moved away from dairy. I would like at some point to learn how to make coconut yogurt because I believe that's quite delicious. But we don't tend to do the dairy. But for people who do consume dairy, there are co-ops around the country where it's possible to connect with other people in your community and take your bottles and get refills and all that sort of thing. And certainly you can make your own yogurt and things at home as well.
Yeah, I'm making my own, and it's dead easy. I'm making my own butter as well, and cheese.
Nice. And you don't need the fancy machines. You don't need like the easy yo container and things. There's ways of doing it with just what you've got at home already. Yeah.
And a culture. That's all you need. What was my question? It's just disappeared on me. Oh yes, do you make your own bread? Obviously.
Occasionally. But as I said, I don't like to spend hours and hours in the kitchen. So when I can outsource stuff, I totally do. So most of the time, I just take a cloth bag down to the bakery and they chuck a loaf in there for me. So yeah, that's a nice, easy one. But yeah, at some point, I'd like to get my hands on a secondhand bread maker and have that smell of fresh bread wafting through the house. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. Or just doing it in the oven.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Hey, do you happen to know, just going back to the co-ops, I think that's a really key thing. And for people who feel like, well, they need to avoid going to the supermarket because that's where all the plastic is and there's just no way around it except for those few outer aisles, and even then, not a lot. Like you say, bread and some veggies you could pretty much pick up out that aren't packaged. But so with the co-ops, do you know of any master list of all the cooperatives in New Zealand?
No, but that is a fabulous idea. Yeah, someone should.
Might have to collect them and do a blog post.
It's a really good idea, actually. I think you would get a lot of fans if you get one together.
Yeah, we need something like that, don't we? Because otherwise, well, you're sort of randomly searching Facebook trying to find, because a lot of them will have the pages or the groups on Facebook, won't they? But not necessarily websites as such. There
is a really good resource. It's called, if you go to the Rubbish Trip, I haven't given you the link, but it's just, if you just Google the Rubbish Trip, they're a New Zealand couple, and they travel around the country giving free zero waste talks to people. And they have compiled shopping guides for all of the areas that they have travelled around, and they're very comprehensive guides. So you might find information in those area-specific guides as well, which will be helpful for you.
You did send me one, actually, for Wellington.
One, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah. And I can share, that's for sort of Wellington, Kapiti, Hutt Valley, etc. So I can post.
It's pretty much covered the length of the whole country, so
they
you
do.
Should your area, yeah.
Exactly. And they're coming to, I'm very excited, they're coming to Churton Park, somewhere near us soon. Very long link, sorry about that, but anyway. I'll edit that later. Yeah, but I'm excited to go and see them there for one of their many free talks that they're doing around the country and see what else we can glean from them.
It's been great. I run the Zero Waste in NZ Facebook group, and it's great to see lots of people coming through and saying why. Because I ask, why do you want to join? And they say, recommended by the rubbish trip. So they're having a huge impact on people.
And that's so cool that they're recommending you too. That's great.
Yeah.
Just going to pop that link in here as well for folks, because I stumbled on your group ages ago. I didn't even know it was yours. But it's very active. Lots of people are active in there, specifically around going zero waste. So it's a great,
really welcoming space as well. So you can just jump on and ask your questions, and there's a whole raft of people willing to help you out.
It is. It's very, very cool. So look, we talked a bit about what your main culprits are. What are your ideas on what you think most family households are struggling with when it comes to plastic? I've got some of my ideas.
What are your ideas?
Well, some of my ideas are certainly, for those who are unaware, plastic bags. They've still got masses of plastic bags in the house. Milk is a problem. Milk containers and meat trays. It's practically unavoidable unless you're, going to butchers and taking your own things. So there's and some people still buying yogurt bottles and things like that. Shampoo. I mean, I get amazed with how much plastic just ends up in our bathrooms. It's just everywhere, all over the shower floors, and half empty, half used, and it's just so much plastic. Yes, that's some of the ideas where I think are causing people most problems.
I'd agree with the bathroom, but for all of those bathroom products, there are reusable alternatives. Well, not so much reusable, but package-free alternatives with shampoo bars, and there's great companies out there that provide those things like Arctic and Dirty Hippie, lots of different businesses that you can go to for those things.
And a lot of those, now, New Zealand local businesses popping up doing that stuff. So it's really great to be able to support local business.
Totally.
They tend to be a bit more expensive, but then you get more washes out of them too, don't you?
Yeah, I think when you look at how much you get quite a bit of bang for your buck with those shampoo bars. They last a very long time. So even though you're going, holy cow, that's $10, but that's going to actually be equivalent to quite a few bottles of the traditional shampoo. So it's good value. That's the other thing I want to talk about actually is with zero waste living. A lot of people think that you have to be very wealthy to live this lifestyle, but we spend a lot less than we used to because, as I said, we've replaced disposable products with reusables, which in the long run saves you a fortune. We're doing a little bit of DIY, and when we do purchase things, we purchase them secondhand. So you save yourself a bit of money, which is a really good bonus.
So what are your main reusables that you have found as saving you the most money?
Oh, menstrual cup, all the way.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm determined to change to that this month. I've had enough.
Save yourself thousands of dollars. So you could buy the tampons and the pads. You use this little thing, which is just the most genius invention, and it's going to last you a decade. And it costs between $30-$50, but that's it. That's all you need. It's the most amazing thing. Yeah. We've replaced. We don't use plastic razors anymore. We use stainless steel safety razor, which is really, in the long run, that saves you a fortune as well. Because when you look at the price of those little disposable blades, they're ripping you off so bad. So you save yourself.
Yep. The razors. Yeah. What else? What's another one?
What else do I use for reusables? Instead of using like sponges and the revolting things, the chucks cloths and things, I use reusable cotton crochet washcloths, and I'll get like 2 or 3 years out of one of those if you get yourself a good quality one. Yeah.
That's actually. They're products that you actually sell now, aren't they? You get produced and sell as well.
Yeah. So we've got a very small range with EarthSavvy. We sell reusable produce bags, bulk food bags, cleaning cloths, little stainless steel foldable cutlery sets, so you can go out and you don't have to worry about accepting plastic cutlery. They're really nifty. and stainless steel lunchbox and tote bags. So you've got a few things that we've got available there. They're based on products that I've used myself for the last few years, and I've chosen products that have resulted in the most waste reduction for our family. So
yeah, that's cool. I've just popped a link up for that for people as well. So again, same old situation where it's good to be supporting people locally, and really excited to see that you announced that you are now featuring in some Auckland supermarkets, your products.
Yeah, we've got a couple of West Auckland supermarkets, so they've got those produce bags and some bulk food bags in the bulk stores as well. So hoping to get a few more businesses supplying our products and get them out to as many people as possible. Yeah,
that's good. Have you got some sales in the time that you've been? How long have they been out there in the West Auckland stores?
Only a couple of weeks. Yeah, they've had a few sales. Yeah, I've probably had more sales through the website. And yeah, we're in it for the long haul, so we're hoping to see it slowly grow over time. Yeah.
And are you planning on adding more products to that to your store, such as collapsible, reusable straws or stuff like that? Have you seen that product?
I have seen it. Yeah.
Cool.
We don't really use straws in our house, so it's not really something I see as an essential item. But I do want to extend the range. I want to extend it, and in the end have maybe about 20 products. But just keep it quite a tight range. So, I mean, there are a few websites out there that sell businesses, with environmentally friendly products. But there's a lot of greenwashing out there as well. So I pretty much just want to focus on the products that are actually going to help you reduce waste.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, cool. Hey, look, here's a question from one of the ladies in my community, Julie Lewison. What she would love to know, what's the one big change that we could make that would have the most positive impact when we're starting out, especially, and if we're not really at the stage of going, I didn't quite finish, zero waste completely. If we're not completely ready to go zero waste just yet, what's the one change that we could make that could make a really big impact?
Well, first of all, I'm not completely zero waste, and I probably never will be.
Yeah.
I'll just put that out there. I'm certainly no saint. We produce rubbish in our house. I just try and produce as little as possible. I guess the biggest impact, the biggest thing you can do is to be conscious, because I think so often when we are in our consumer mode, we kind of go into autopilot and we're not really thinking about what it is we're buying, do we need the item, and what's going to happen to that product once it's died. So just being really conscious about what you're buying, trying to avoid plastic at all costs, because although some of the plastics can be recycled, all plastics have a limited recycling life, so all plastic eventually ends up in landfill if it's not including our environment. So trying to focus your efforts on purchasing things either package free or in glass or in stainless steel, and just thinking, do I need this item? Because a lot of the stuff we buy, we actually don't end up using very much. And I think, so it's being conscious of, do I need this item? If I do, is there someone I can borrow it from instead of purchasing it? Or can I purchase it secondhand? Yeah, so just trying to be conscious in those decisions rather than, being an autopilot, I guess.
Yeah. A question I came across recently that's really helped me remind myself of thinking about that a lot more consciously is, if there was no more rubbish collection and recycling out on the street and everything we consume ended up in our backyard, how would my backyard look in a few days, a few weeks, a few months? And so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to compost as much as I can. I'm putting stuff in for the worm farm. I'm trying to burn more. I'm burning bones now and burning more of our stuff that, our paper and card that can't be composted. And I'm making eco bricks, stuffing the soft plastics into eco bricks, which I actually am going to use to build the base of a pizza oven outside. So that will end up outside of my property. But then so what's left, which is in the recycling bin, and a small rubbish bag, not as small as you are yet, but we're getting there, is actually what would end up strewn on my property. And so I'm looking at those products now and going, okay, well, how can I avoid that? that packaging.
Well, the scenario of stockpiling things in your backyard isn't as crazy as it sounds. For people who aren't aware, China has stopped accepting massive amounts of the world's recycling, and so actually in New Zealand there are people at waste transfer stations, and they're stockpiling plastic. Like, mountains are literally growing because they have nowhere to send it. So it's totally a real situation.
And it's getting dangerous as well. So what's your view on that? Because, when I heard about that, I started freaking out and going, I need to try and retain more stuff here. And, Natalie Horman, a sustainability person that I know in my circles locally, said, no, look, we really should still be sending it to the recycling so that problem gets addressed sooner rather than later by councils, etc. and government. So what's your view on that?
There's not much point in treating your house like a landfill. It's essentially the same thing as sending it to landfill or just leaving it in your garage. It's the same thing. So my view is that we need to reduce our consumption of these items as much as possible, and that's the thing. I'm actually really pleased that China's made this decision, because it's brought it back home that we actually need to be responsible for our own waste rather than just going to another country and they'll deal with it. And even when these products were being recycled, because plastic breaks down over time, it can only be recycled 7 to 9 times before it ends up in landfill anyway. So really, either way, it still gets there. So reducing, that's the key.
Okay. I didn't know that about the recycling process, that there's only so many lives that can live.
Yeah, well, glass, stainless steel, and aluminium, these are materials that can be recycled infinitely. They don't lose any of their quality, not so much with plastic.
Right, okay, that's interesting. Good to know. And is that something you discovered in that book that you found in the library that's in your video?
It may have been one of the important facts that I learned from Bear Johnson, I think, yes.
Yeah.
It certainly opened my eyes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read that book now. Hey, so look, you still recycle, right?
Yeah, so we produce probably like a standard size bucket of recycling once a month, and in there we have things like cans of coconut cream, glass bottles that I can't reuse really, or I don't reuse, of things like vinegar and stuff. We don't really consume plastic anymore, apart from the stupid and a little annoying seals that they have on the tops of jars. You've got to peel the seal off. But that's probably the plastic seals and banana stickers. Those are the banes of my life. Apart from that, we're not really recycling too much. No, the aim of zero waste living is to reduce your recycling as well as reducing what goes to landfill as well, because of those reasons, and also the fact that recycling is a hugely energy intensive and polluting process in itself.
Yes.
So if you can just focus what was that?
Have you done a blog post about that?
About
what's involved with the recycling process?
Yeah, well, I took a visit to Vizzy, which is Auckland's recycling centre, and I think I did mention in that the fact that plastic can only be recycled a few times. Yeah, but it does seem to be a fact that lots of people seem unaware of. So yeah, I think there's a lot more education that needs to happen.
There's a lot of water wastage, isn't there? Not to mention power, I'm sure. But I've heard that the water wastage is crazy because of all the cleaning involved. Yeah.
So if you've got something that can be recycled and you think, oh, but maybe I can reuse this. If you can reuse it, certainly reuse it before you chuck it in the recycling bin.
Yeah. So look, the biggest problem that I see is that, and what really actually makes me angry when people say, look, people have just got to stop buying more plastic, and yet the average busy family goes, how? I'm bombarded with it everywhere. It's not like we have an awful lot of choice. Like, you've had to go do quite a lot of research and go really out of your way to find those alternatives. So how do you think we can be impacting? It's the brands, the big brands, isn't it, who continue to package their products in plastic and don't seem to even consider, the glass, the other alternatives, the cardboard. You see a lot of the smaller, more boutique brands who are trying to get on supermarket shelves seem to be making more of an effort in that area than those big brands. So how can we impact them, make them hurt?
I think the biggest impact you can have is to not buy their products. Money talks. Every time you purchase something or you accept something as a freebie, you are sending a message to that business that you support what they do. So my recommendation is that you don't purchase their products, and you tell them that you're not purchasing their products, and you tell them why you're not purchasing their products. So contact them on social media saying, I would have loved to have bought this product today. Unfortunately, you've packaged in plastic, so I decided to go elsewhere. That's the biggest impact.
Yeah. So, it's using the power of the purse, which I'm absolutely a big believer in, and using your voice. So just take that 2 minutes out to leave them a note, a very public note that that you're choosing not to, and why. And that all of that helps us educate each other, doesn't it? The more we see people walking around or not going to supermarkets or walking around with their own bags or making choices off of the shelves that are more conscious, people see that, they observe that, they might ask themselves why they're doing it, they might ask the person why they're doing it, and then they're learning more, and they're getting more aware.
It's a ripple effect, and people like to see what other people are doing and go, oh, I could do that as well. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, look, I've got one final question for you, Kristy, because thank you. We have gone a little bit over time, but I've really appreciated having you here today. So for those of us who are starting on this journey and are feeling a little conscious about it, or are coming up against resistance from people who just don't get why, or are saying, well, what's the point? What is your purchasing decisions really, how's that really going to make a difference? We're all a bit screwed. The world is all a bit screwed. There's always going to be factions in society who just aren't going to care and aren't going to do this. So why bother? What do you say to those people?
I don't think giving up is an option. Personally, I want to live a life that aligns with my ideals, and I want to teach my daughter that there is a better way of doing things. And no person is an island. Each of us has an impact on other people that we come across in our lives, whether it be our family, our friends, or the person that is giving you your products at the supermarket. And I started a Facebook group 2.5 years ago. It was just me, and we now have over 17,000 members. So everything you do has an impact, and you don't realize how much of an impact you're having on other people, but you are certainly very powerful as an individual, and I think that people shouldn't underestimate that.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome. Nice one, a nice note to leave us on. So thank you so much, Kristy, for having us, for coming along. What have you got planned for the rest of your day?
Well, I've got a big list of things to do related to my business. I've discovered it's one thing to create a cool website with lots of really helpful products, and it's quite another thing to let people know that you exist. So I'll be busy doing promotions for that.
Yeah. And so what avenues are you choosing to do? Are you aligning yourself with partners?
No. What are you doing? Not at this stage. Well, I've just actually now become a community partner for Scouting New Zealand, so that's pretty cool. You might notice through the video that there's a bit of a scouting thing going on, so alignment. But no, pretty much trying to make the most of social media, word of mouth, and just slowly but surely.
Yeah, cool. Go hard.
Thank you.
It's been really lovely virtually meeting you. And good luck. And I encourage everyone to come and check out your site. Definitely check out your group and check out what you've got there. Yeah. No, thanks heaps.
If you're awake, we'll go home.
Yeah. Thanks, Kristy. Have a great day.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.